Welcome to Bid on You, the podcast, where we help you navigate the chaos of life and experience the bliss of backing yourself. Hosted by yours truly, Marissa Lee. Every Friday, we sit down with creatives, artists, influencers, and just the regular folks to talk dating, adulting, faith, culture, and all the random thoughts in between. It's time to bid on you. So let's start the show. Well, welcome back to Bid on You. We are super excited to be doing our 20th episode, which is kind of insane, and closing out season 1 on a little bit of an investigative journalism note. But I'm so honored to have this guest with us today and that she would share her story with us. And we're going to get right into the tea because we're going to be talking about, if you haven't heard about, #Netflix is the program, but the story behind the troubled teen industry and just, I hate to even say the word survivors, those who were victorious over circumstances that they did not deserve, but they came out on top of, which, you know, we can all relate to at this point in life right now in the world. So without further ado, we'll jump right in. And Kelly, I'll let you just give like a quick, hey, my name is, this is my story. I feel like it's like name major where you're from.
Hi guys.
Literally.
I'm here today.
Exactly.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Marissa, for inviting me. I'm totally okay and open to sharing my story. And yeah, like I hope this is kind of representative of the community. Hope you guys have watched the program. The school that I actually attended is not the school that is on the program. I just want to go ahead and just start on that. Right. But the school that I did attend was featured. So they do talk about the school. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, because I thought it was just like a sister school, which I was like, okay, the concept is still the same. I didn't even know that y'all made it into the doc. I love that.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, honey, so tell us a little bit, walk us through, you know, what led you going to the school? Like you're just kind of chilling, or were you kind of having some tough times in high school? Like how did we get to this program to begin with?
Yeah. So, okay. Well, first I was going to say I live in Orange County. Like I've always been from California. And when I got pulled and I got to the program that I went to, the school that I got transferred to was Midwest Academy, and that's located in Keokuk, Iowa. Everything that you hear about the New York location of the other school that's featured, where it's like in like nowhere, that's exactly the school that it was in, that kind of location. They're always kind of located in like nowhere area and
very remote,
where it's easy to kind of get employment to get like for people to work there.
So I was just thinking that. I was like, that's how it's kind of prison-y, where it's like no one's going to say anything because we need this place for our employment.
Definitely. Okay, so you hit it right on the nail. I did go to that school for academic like achievement. I want to say like low academic achievement is the word that I would go for, but to be completely transparent, it's simply because I was raised by a very Asian mom, and that is the reason. Yeah. So to give a little bit of background, I did okay in freshman year. I did okay, right? And then the sophomore year, my grades started slipping, in normal ways. And like, I just want to let the audience and everyone know that I'm actually a high school counselor. So
I love that. Yeah. She's like, I know what's normal, and that was.
So let me tell you, Marissa, when I have actually worked with students that are struggling with mental disabilities, serious mental health issues, you know, autistic, ADHD, like whatever you name it. And they are actually doing horrible in school. Like you could not even go in there and try to change your lives. They will not do it. And so I have seen the crux of like students with actual low academic achievement.
Right.
And so when I say that I got a D in chemistry, a D was like the trigger. And that was like my mom saying, no, that is not happening. I'm sending you away. But she didn't tell me that. Like she would make a little bit of like hints. Like it kind of all started when she met my I want to say he's like my previous stepdad. They're no longer together, but when she did meet him, he was more of like a military type guy.
Classic.
And so she was like I'm biracial, so I'm half
Okay.
Asian, but my mom raised me. So
Okay.
she was like getting all these ideas of like let's send her away, and so she would hint at that, but like I didn't take those seriously. I
You.
was still doing okay in school, but I got a D in chemistry, and to this
Okay.
day I still don't like the subject. Like
It's
I
literally
still don't
hard.
like.
When you said that,
Yeah,
I was kind of triggered. I was like, damn, I might almost made it over there because I literally hated chemistry. Like, and I used in my mind, I wanted to be a pediatrician growing up. And that's when I was like,
Yeah.
girl, this may not work because this periodic table and you don't mix.
I was like, what? Like you're telling me I have to do math and like look at all the and study
and
this?
letters.
Okay.
Literally.
Yeah. So I was
Okay.
just I got a D, and my mom was like,
Okay.
this is like she flipped out, but I was remediating my courses. Like I was actively in summer school. I had
Right.
signed up for 2 classes I was taking alongside my friends. I had
Mhm.
just tried out for color guard. Like everything was going for me. Like I was like,
Right.
okay, I'm
Just
about
being
to
a normal
I'm
girl.
I was like, I'm about to actually like maybe gain popularity and like in school doing like sports. Like I was like, this is
Right.
exciting, and like my social life was like great. Like I was a
Yeah.
sophomore, you know, freshman year, you're just figuring yourself out,
Right.
getting your identity, and finally I was like, okay, this is great. So I'll never forget the
Mhm.
day that I actually did get sent away. Was I remember every single detail, and so did my best friend because she was with me. So like we
Oh,
went,
shout
we
out
were
her.
in yeah, we had just finished summer school. I was in there for like history or something like that. We leave, we go to color guard. I walk home, and we're at the library, which is right next to my house. And my
Mhm.
mom's like, I cannot make this up. Like, I cannot make this up. She's like, you need to come home right now because we're going on a trip to New York this weekend to visit your uncle who's dying. Like, I'm not making like that is literally what she said. And so being such like an ignorant kid at the time, I was
Right.
like what? Who? Like what uncle? And
I
she
was
was
gonna
just
say, like, your poor uncle is like, now why am I in it?
well, that person was non-existent. It was merely just like a ruse for me to leave. So, you know, my mom basically played me. Like she lied.
Right.
So there's
Right.
2 ways if you watch the program is I think Catherine Kubler did a good job. Like
Mhm.
she did a really good job representing like everyone that's in the program.
Okay, awesome.
Like she did a really good job, I just want to say. So she talked about 2 types of ways that you can get your student or your child to get to the actual school, which is one, literally kidnapping.
Yeah.
Most of the girls that were at my program were kidnapped. Literally out of bed in the middle of the night, like kidnapped, brought
I
to
was
the
about
airport.
to be gagged the whole episode, so I'm trying like not to react so we can get through this. But that was my question because I was like, now did they throw you in the back of the van? But that
No.
was popular,
So
basically.
I got lucky. I didn't get kidnapped. So the other method was your parents literally drop you off.
Right.
So I didn't get kidnapped, but most of the girls in the program did. So I
Which
get
is like
home.
worse in a different way because it's like when you're like obviously the trauma of thinking that you're being kidnapped, like I'm probably not equipped to discuss anyway, so it's for the best. But also
Exactly.
like being like having that image in your mind, I would imagine of like when your mom dropped you off forever. I'm like, damn, I'd probably rather have the sack around my head.
Yeah, right.
Maybe.
And so this is the crazy thing. Like she had packed my bag for me. And so I like was like, what? Like she was like, I already have this bag for you. And so I had already I grabbed a couple things of my own in a backpack, and then she was like, it's just gonna be a quick trip. We're just gonna go visit him and we'll be back. And I was like, okay, like again, like so
right.
My relationship with my mom at the time in high school, like I'm not gonna lie, like I was a bratty, like hormonal kid. Like I was a teenager that was rude to my mom, but not on the level of like the disrespect that I see in like youth today that are actually really angry. Like I was like, you know, just a bratty, angry,
literally just going through puberty,
going through my own stuff. And you know, I didn't have like the best relationship with my mom. So I was just like la-di-da, like, okay, whatever, like let's go to the airport. So we arrive, and my mom was like, okay, there's gonna be a nurse that's picking us up and she's gonna drive us to the hospital. But we literally get off in Missouri. We get off in St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, I'm a total idiot. I'm thinking this is exactly why I was in summer school for history.
No,
because I literally I literally didn't even know at the time that Iowa or like St. Louis was like far from New York. So she's like, we're gonna get off here and we're gonna drive to New York. And I was like,
Girl.
okay. Still, I was like, la-di-da, like, okay, so like,
Yeah.
like, did I have a little bit of uncertainties? Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
But this is when it got really weird. So when we got out, there was a lady. She was a really random woman, and she did not speak a word to us like the entire time. She literally picks us up in this car, and she and my mom like already knew each other by name. We get in, and she drives. I fell asleep. Like, we just drive, and like of what feels like I don't remember, like maybe a couple hours, and then when I wake up, I just remember looking out the window and seeing Midwest Academy, like literally right outside the window, like of the car. So we parked there, and that's basically the story of how I arrived to the school. Was like I got lied to,
Right.
and the fact is that I basically failing chemistry was the
catalyst.
whole snowball of like me going to the program. But the whole reason why she chose this was because her coworker sent her daughter there for like alcohol abuse. And if you don't know this from watching the program, I learned this. I didn't know this, but you get a month off if you refer someone and they accept.
I saw the like referral program situation. I was like,
you guys are very smart.
yeah,
Like, that is a
they're
really
sick.
smart way.
It's scary. Yeah. And I think like we'll get into that, but like the level of how they thought out so many things, it's like, I feel like you could have used your powers for good at that point. Like, you thought out everything except for what the school was actually supposed to be doing.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're like, we don't have any actual curriculum. We don't have any actual place for you to lay your head or actual qualified people to be overseeing children, but we know how to make the money.
Like, they have so much money in this industry that it's like, did you ever start thinking about like the actual impact that you could have had if you really started to do good things?
Like,
so,
do what you said you were gonna do. Silly me. So with that,
Yeah.
okay. So obviously, you know, I'm familiar with the documentary. You're familiar. You lived the thing. But
Yeah.
for those who maybe just like haven't watched or done their homework yet, or just in general from your own experience, like walk us through what a day there was like, or any like key elements that you remember like stand out to you.
Yes. Well, every day was okay. So there's levels that you go through, and I never made it past level 3. Like, the first 2 months of me like being at the school was I wasn't a kid that didn't work the program. Like, I didn't rebel. I worked the program, but I was really like in denial and in shock.
Yeah, of course.
And confused. Like, the first 2 months, like I didn't know, like I was trying to work the program, but then I would get like these consequences for like looking out the window. Like, you can't look out the window, right? You can't talk to anyone unless you're paired on the same level as another student. And so, but you could talk to another student that's an older level, an upper level, in front of a supervisor. So the day would start like this. You'd wake up and you would make your bed. They teach you how to make your bed and like fold your clothes at night. But so you organize everything, and they check it, see that everything's done, and you stand by your bed. Like, you stand there and you wait. And I was there for 8 months, so not as long as some of the other girls I was there. There was a girl there for like almost 2 years.
8 minutes is too long.
Yeah, 8 months. 8 minutes is too long.
I'm like, it sounds like jail, like having to line up and be like, okay, we're doing a bunk search. Like,
yeah, well, it
every
was.
day?
So bunk search was a word that they would use like in the vernacular. You would stand outside, and they would check that you did all the chores, whatever. So after you like get ready, brush your teeth, whatever, there's no mirrors. So the only time that I ever saw my reflection was, you know how like when you're like at a public gym bathroom and the shower handle like is like metal? That's like the only time I remember like kind of trying to see what I look like, and you can't really see it.
So not me crying. It's just so insane.
It is. But those are the memories that I'll always remember, because it's like, damn, I was literally trying to look at myself through like a
hello. I'm just brushing teeth. I can be brushing my gums. I don't even know what's going on. What if you wear contacts? How do you put them in?
Right. So
practically, what does this mean? Like, I don't even. Okay, so Okay, so you have bunk search, and then they're like, let's get the day going. Let's go to class.
Yeah, so we'll go, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, we would eat first and then we would go off to PE, which was like either, it's almost always inside this indoor gym. We had
Okay.
a male PE teacher. He was pretty cool. He was pretty nice. Like not, I would never like shame a staff member for working there unless like they truly did something that was horrible, because I'm sure they knew that what they were doing were horrible, but there were some actual decent staff members that worked there. So like some of them, they were just like, I'm pretty sure they just needed a job, you know? And so there's a, you know, the male PE teacher was really nice. He wasn't like super strict. So we would like run or like throw like balls around. I don't remember. And then afterwards,
first thing in the damn morning, like you just ate breakfast and had some milk, and you could be on your period, and it's like sprints.
Yeah, pretty much that. And then afterwards, you would go to school. So you would do school for like.
Would you smell bad?
No, you shower after.
Okay, sorry. I'm like really like walk me through. I thought that was part of the punishment. Okay.
No, I'm sorry. So yes, afterwards you would shower, and then like I said, the reflection thing that was vivid
as much as you could.
I honestly gave up after a while. I was like, I'm pretty sure I look horrible. My eyebrows aren't tweezed, and my legs aren't shaved. Like we're not allowed to use, you know, any type of device that would hurt you. And so we're all looking like we're all looking busted, you know.
Yeah.
And we're used to it. We're just kind of like, we're just at that point, it's like we're comfortable in our own skin. We all look bad. We all look ugly.
Yeah. So demoralized. It's like, why would I even care what I look like?
Yeah. And imagine the girls that have been there for that long too. Like they don't get any sort of like rewards. Like you don't get to go home or anything like that. So kind of sucks, but yeah, that's the industry. So we did the school. We would do the school for like 4 or so hours, maybe 6. I can't remember. I can't recall, but it was all online. So it was like a homeschool program that we worked. And then I remember I had this really cool math teacher. He was really nice, really old, but like super good at like teaching math. So like there, I would say that I excelled through math, like math, science, English. Like I took all the topics that we did, because that's the only thing we could really like throw ourselves in. Yeah. Like when I eventually came back to school, like my counselor was like looking at my transcript, and she was like, dude, you're like done with like the first semester of senior year. And I came back as a junior.
So that's really interesting, because I think a big thing that's mentioned in the documentary is, maybe it was that particular school, but in New York, where they didn't actually have the credentials or the curriculum. And so people were graduating and then unable to, like, it was just monopoly money for their diploma.
Exactly. And I do wonder if that was the case for our school too, but I'm glad that they accepted the transcript, you know?
Right.
But like, yeah, I do wonder if, but you know, there are some girls that we have a Facebook group, like a support group. There is a girl that you can share that like, a guy, he said that when he went to the military, they didn't even accept his diploma. Like they were like, this isn't a real diploma. Like this school isn't even real. So like, if they're like, you know, like a lot of places will be like, this isn't real, dude.
So you just happen to be blessed to have like some people that actually knew 2 + 2 is 4 while you were taking all of the education online.
Pretty much, yeah. And
but we have no proof they were actual accredited teachers with degrees. Like they could have just been in the room.
Well, the only teacher that I knew was an actual teacher I hope he was. He was literally the math teacher that worked there. But he was the only one that worked there. Everything else was done online. So he did work with me, but he was more like an in-person tutor for the homeschool program. I hope he was a real teacher. He said he was, but I don't know.
So basically you're teaching yourself. It's all online programming. There's no teacher that's like, okay, now we're doing this, and then we're socializing, and then we're doing this, and it's a group project. It's just looking at the screen and clicking.
No. Yeah, it's literally that. And so I know you asked me to recall any like memories that I could think of as, yes, I could. Because in that room that we do the school in, like I had never been like from, you know, being from like Southern California,
right?
We don't see crazy snow. Like we don't see like,
true.
Look outside and it's covered in white.
Yeah.
And so it was getting colder during wintertime, and this would be my first time. I was literally in shock. So you walk into the classroom, and I know it's cold, but the first thing that you see is the windows are open. They've always been open, but It's completely white outside, like everything, not open, but like kind of
Yeah.
open. It's
Yeah.
open enough to the point where you can see something in peripheral and it doesn't look the same. And it's because everything was covered in snow in the fields. Like,
Wow.
and so I remember, like, what? Like, I can't stop looking away. I got
Right.
a
Right.
consequence for that
I'm
because they
about
were
to
like,
say, yeah, you're
"You
not
were
supposed to look out
looking
the
at the
window.
window,
So tighten
looking at
up.
the window." And I'm like, "Okay, I was looking out the window because it's
Never
freaking
seen snow
black
before.
outside."
I'm having culture shock.
Yeah, so it was kind of
Wow.
crazy. So that
That's
was a memory that I had.
and like think of it's like sounds ha now, but it's like as a kid, like when you like being from Alabama, even if it snowed and we got like an inch of snow that lasted for 2 hours in the morning, it was
Mhm.
like school's out, like you know what I mean? And so like you're literally just seeing snow because it really doesn't snow at all ever in Southern California. Knock on wood.
Definitely.
And you're
And
like, oh, sorry, not supposed to look out the window. My bad.
yep, exactly. I'm like, darn, I looked out the window, but I couldn't help but to stare outside. Like, it looks
Right.
white outside. There's like inches of
Right.
snow.
So with
Well,
that though, did you feel like because that like, you know, there's the no talking and don't look around and all of that, did you feel like isolated from your classmates or was there like a bit of solidarity? I know they're like they had like a little moment in the show where they talk about a riot potentially, but like how did that work with having any type of social interaction?
okay, so I did
Mhm.
feel, so the first 2, 3 months, like I said, I did feel super isolated because
Mhm.
I felt like I was in the wrong place. Not because,
Right.
and I don't like, I understand my place and I understand that, what is the word I'm thinking of is shoot. Okay, I can't think of the word right now.
That's all
But
right.
I
You
will remember.
understand like sort of what led to getting there?
Yeah. I no,
Hmm.
no, no. I
I'm about
can't
to
think of the,
say. Okay.
it's it starts with a P. Okay. Anyways, so
Predicament?
no, it's like when you know that you're spoiled. I'll think of it later after.
Privileged.
Privilege. Thank
There we go.
you.
We got there.
Thank you. See, you're smart. So my privilege, I understood my privilege, and I understood that I was not at the program for the reasons that these other girls were there for. Like,
Okay.
I would see girls come in with, I'm not kidding, prostitution. They were there for drug abuse. They were there because they had to complete this program while doing probation. It was a lot of different things, but they were there for
Got it.
mostly drugs, like
Okay.
sex, alcohol abuse, things of that nature, like physical, like violence, things of that nature. And so for me, being 15, having never even kissed a boy,
Right.
like
Right.
I was like, okay, I'm in the wrong place. Like, what am I doing
Right.
here
Like there
for?
should be level. We're not all supposed to be in here together.
Yeah, 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 definitely. And
Yeah.
I totally, it didn't mean that it would stop me from making friendships, but I think that in a way that it did, because people would see me as somebody, because we had an hour after, at the end of the night where you
Okay.
could share. So I could talk if I wanted to at any level, you can share.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but I didn't share until months later because I was uncomfortable. Like, I
Was
was
the
like, I don't know.
sharing genuine or was it sort of because I think what that made me think of is in the show where it talks about the young lady whose parents were apparently the key to the referrals. And so they kept trying to convince her that she was on all these drugs and they put all these things in her file
I
that
remember
like
seeing
her
that.
parents still believe. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering when you're saying that, like, I think this is interesting because it's like that's actually probably a part of the psyche of it is making you think don't belong with it's kind of like if you do a petty crime and then you're next thing you know you're like at maximum security prison so you're horrified to even talk to people because you feel like I'm not a real criminal like y'all are real criminals and is that even true?
And like I said, like, I totally understood my privilege even at that
Yeah.
time, because I was like, I knew, I shared, like, I would be like, I was not here for any of these reasons, but I
Right.
was here because people would share what they were there for and why they were
Yeah.
condoning it and going through the things that they were going through and trying to rebuild themselves. And
Okay.
so for me, I was literally like, I got a D in chemistry, like, I don't have a
Right.
criminal,
Yeah.
which is the truth. And I, because of that, I think that there was a little bit of like prejudice, but
Okay. Yeah.
slowly I did become more in touch with the group. And there's a
Right.
lot of nonverbal communication that happens in
I
every
bet.
program.
Right.
And over time, like, you do build relationships and you kind of know who you like and who you don't really care
Mm-hmm.
for, just based off of like just personalities. Like you know
Yeah.
people's personalities based off of, you don't have to hear someone speak to know their personality.
I'm about to say,
And
it'd be a horrible time to have resting bitch face because everyone's like, Marissa sucks. And it's like, girl, I'm
yes,
just scared to death and I miss my mama. Like, it's not you, it's me.
because
Wow.
the nonverbal communication could happen nonverbal communication could take place right in front of you. So what I mean is, if a student want to say something to you,
Mhm.
like for example, like during PE or an activity, and they're not on the same level as you, so
Mhm.
the supervisor would stand right here and she'd be like, Miss Christina, can you tell well, I'm literally standing right here. Can you tell Kelly that how to play the rules of the game so that she can partner with me, or something like that. So and then
Wow.
you could hear it, and so you kind of learn to kind of not manipulate, but you can talk
Yeah.
in front of the supervisor to say things in front of another student so that they can hear you too.
Yeah. Yikes. So
Does
it's
that
like,
make sense?
even though we're all going through this, we're still teens who are going to still have like bullying and weird stuff.
Yeah.
Even though we're being bullied by these full grown adults.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, girls can be bullies too in the
Right.
program, but most of them we were just all trying to just get through the
Survive.
day
I
and
know
just
that's right.
level up and like get
Yeah.
out of it. Yeah, but there were also girls that they were clearly not trying to level up. Like they were just like,
Yeah.
I'm not here to do anything, and
Right.
I don't disrespect that.
Yeah. And that makes me think of one of the and now who's mentioned where she was just like, everyone wanted to break me. And I was like, I
Yes.
won't be
Yes.
broken. So that
Mhm.
makes me think of like, and this is trigger warning in there, but we see
Mhm.
incidents of abuse in the show and like
Yes.
they're seemingly ignored as well. So can you recall any specific incidents at your school where, they maybe had to respond to like a mental health crisis or allegations of abuse? Like, how was that handled?
I have a totally juicy story for you.
Uh-oh. Okay.
But so the first part of that question is, for me, I did witness something. I don't really recall it too much because I blocked
Yeah.
out all of this after I came
As you
back.
should, yeah, like, just
I
whatever
was
you can muster that you feel
yeah,
safely doing. For
yeah.
sure.
It took me years and years to finally be able to actually talk about this without crying. So now I'm like in a place where I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm okay. I did this thing and
Right.
this is crazy.
Right.
But at the time it did mess me up. But
Yeah.
this specific incident happened a few days after I started the program. Another girl started the program right after me, and
Okay.
she was going through withdrawals from the drugs that were in
Mhm.
her body. And
Mhm.
so she would be lashing out, crying, like hitting the bed frames, and we would have security come in and mob in and grab her. And there was like that room that was in the program, which is called OSS. That was
Yeah.
a real, like, we had that. I was in that room for a couple different reasons, but never for being too reckless or rebellious. It was
Yeah.
because like I fainted or something. Like it was anytime you had to be in private, they
Okay.
would take you to that room. So
So what is the room? The room is just like an empty
room
cinder
is
block.
literally just walls, no
Okay.
windows. Imagine just a small room, like small, with
Yeah.
just the door. But they would leave the door open, and there was like I want to say it was like a bed, but like a mattress, so you can lay down there if you needed to. And there would always be a staff member sitting on the chair, like looking at you. The student got pulled away to the OSS room.
Mhm.
That's the one major thing that I can really remember,
Mhm.
besides students constantly breaking down left and right. And we
Right.
had
Right.
counselors that would get paired up with us. And so
Mhm.
there are family representatives. So my counselor would talk to my mom for
Mhm.
me, or like she was the liaison, like the family
Right.
liaison, the family rep.
Right.
And so you definitely want to have a good relationship with your family
Right.
rep, because they are the ones that essentially sign you off on leveling up. Like I literally was looking through my
Wow.
binder and I was like, oh my God, like they sign you off and
Yeah.
like they give you feedback. After you share 2 every day, you get
Right.
feedback. And
Right.
so where was I going with this? So there was something that took place at our school specifically, and you can Google it. But our
Mhm.
school, before the program came out, like a couple years ago, the school
Mhm.
actually got shut down because the guy that ran the school, his name is Ben Train. He
Mhm.
actually, I believe he's in jail right now, but he was accused of sexually assaulting the girls that went to our school. So no, I did not get sexually assaulted, and I do
Mhm.
not know anyone that actually did get sexually
Mhm.
assaulted.
That
The
you know of.
crazy. Like if you
Yeah.
you watch the whole thing on court, like it was recorded, but it got shut down, and so everything got rated. And I wish they did a show on my program. So it
Yeah.
got shut down. And when I told my mom, I was like, Mom, that stupid school that you sent me to, it
Right.
got shut down because the guy that ran it was sexually assaulting girls. In the
Oh my God.
accounts, like,
Yeah.
girls were saying that like he would, like, the upper level girls get to lead the school with authority figures, and so like
Mhm.
he would take like a group of girls to
Oh.
go like shopping, and they would like try on underwear at his home. Like it was like weird stuff. So again, like I don't want to speak on it too much because I didn't witness anything. I
Right.
saw the guy maybe one or two times.
Yeah.
I would assume that he like had a better relationship with the upper level
Older
girls than
girls. Yeah.
upper level. So I didn't
Right.
see the guy.
Right. You
Yeah.
never quite made it into the trap. Okay.
No. And I did try to work the program,
Whew.
but things were going against me. So
Like, okay, so let's talk about that just a little, because I think we're moving towards the family side of it. We talked about the family rep, and some of what I mentioned earlier. I think the girl was saying because her family rep was not like a fan of hers, or I think they honestly just wanted to keep her parents bringing money into the school, that they would just say, oh, you know, Sally's not doing well, Kelly like is failing, whatever. And so what was the communication or lack thereof like with your mom while you were in the facility? And then like, what is it now?
So that's a good question. So when we were in the at the school, we did get to receive letters from our family. So just family, strictly only. And so I didn't get any like family, like I didn't get any friend letters until like the very end of like the program. My mom secretly sent me one. I forgot. Maybe I don't even know how I got it, but I remember when I read it, I was like bawling. Like I was like crying. Like I was like, oh my God,
Of course.
because my friends had found a way to drop the letter off to my mom, and my mom gave it to me. So that was a really big step in our relationship, because she actually thought everything that had to do with my life and academic life was all because of my friend's influence, and which is completely false, false.
Right.
So we had letters. I don't think it was, I would think it was every Friday we received the letters. Our liaison, our family rep would bring the letters to us, I think, and they would be printed out. And so we would read them. They're always usually like a printed email form. So my mom was to write her letter and email it to our rep, and she would then print it, and then give it to me. And so I had a binder of all the letters that my mom wrote. But I'm just going to be honest, it was so hard to understand what my mom was saying because her English skills weren't very good. And so she would be writing, and sometimes I wouldn't be not really understanding what she would say. And so a lot of the communication was unclear. At even one point, she even attempted to write in full English. It was clear because she had asked another parent to write it for me.
Wow.
So she had another parent translate what she was trying to say to me.
Got it.
But I do speak Mandarin fluently. But like my mom and her typing out all the characters, it wasn't always going to be Mandarin to me. Yes. I think I was the only student going through the program that had a mom that had difficulties with English not being her language.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to answer your next question was what the relationship like is with my mom now. It's actually the best it's ever been in. Wow. So I have a very good relationship with my mom now. But the most, everyone always asks me, like, what's the most traumatizing thing that happened to you at the school? The most traumatizing event that took moment of the entire experience wasn't even going to the school itself. It was the broken trust and the relationship that I had with my mom that came after that, because I'll never forget walking out of the car, looking at the school. My mom is like that lady that was driving us. She got my bag out, and my mom, I will never forget this. My mom tried to hug me, and I literally pushed her away. I literally turned my back on her, and I just walked into school. Like, I will never forget that moment, because it was just so, like, I could not believe that she could do such a thing. Like, she had it in her to do it. And I know a lot of it was also the influence of my stepdad at the time and maybe the coworkers. But I was like, how could you, like, it took so long. I just still have trouble with it, but
Right.
I did forgive my mom. I did forgive my mom, and
Amazing.
I have moved forward in order to at least have a okay relationship with her. But
Right.
it took so long, like, to move past it.
Yeah. I feel like a part of you, even just physically turning your back was probably how you felt. That's what she was doing to you in that
Yeah.
moment. So
And I
that was like
only
your only
became
power.
rebellious. Yeah, after
Yeah.
I got back was when I started to be rebellious, because I was like, I knew what it was like to be in jail, and
Right.
now I'm ready to start living. Like I was like,
Ooh.
I want to do everything, because I
Yeah.
knew what it was like to be put away and miss
Right.
out on all these experiences,
Right. And so now you're like, we got to make up for lost time.
That's exactly what I was saying, girl.
I'm dead. Do you feel like your mom fully understands? Well,
Yeah.
has she seen the show? A, and do you feel like she fully understands kind of like what she did with putting you into the school?
She did not fully understand. I think she still has, so she doesn't even, she knows about the show, but only because I
Mhm.
told her.
Yeah.
Would she watch it? No, because she wouldn't even understand really what she's
Right.
watching. Like
Right.
she knows that she knows it was really expensive and a waste of money, because I
Yeah.
still was a rebel after I came back. All she kept saying, I wasted my money, and I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah.
You gave me a lifetime of trauma. But she definitely, she would watch it if we were watching it together, but I don't think she would. She's just the type of person that she would never admit if she has actually done
Right.
something to actually hurt me. I think she just kind of
Yeah.
keeps it in and just lets it sit.
Yeah.
Because I have that relationship, and I know that that's how my mom is like. She's just completely just a stubborn person.
Mhm.
I'm okay with accepting that she knows that she hurt me. I was hurt and I was traumatized, and she knows that. And I
Right.
think we're both ready to just let it
Move
go and
forward.
just move on. So,
Yeah.
which I know is very hard, because even my boyfriend is like, dude, I would never, like, he doesn't
Mhm.
forgive my mom
Yeah,
for
he's
that,
like,
you know?
I don't even know her like that, but I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
Fair. Yeah. I mean,
and he
that's
has a
really,
relationship with my mom. He knows what she's done,
yeah.
that he's like,
Yeah.
I can never forgive a person for doing that to you. But,
Yeah.
it's just that type of vibe. It's like, okay, like, I've gone mad at her for so long, and now I'm
Right.
just like, this relationship is worth salvaging. Like, I still want to have a
Yeah.
relationship with you.
Yeah.
And so
That's
underneath, I know
lovely.
she's a good person, but I think she was manipulated.
For sure. And I
Yeah,
think
not
like,
saying she
obviously it
was.
sounds like you've done, immense amounts of work just to be able, because a lot of this, it sounds, you said you're a school counselor, but it sounds very therapy. Like most of it is like freeing
Definitely.
yourself, right? And it's not like, I think sometimes, holding on to the anger is like still being in the hurt, just in a different form of the
Yes.
emotion. And so that's like, I commend you for even being able to recognize, like, sure, I could still be pissed. And there probably will always be a part where I'm like, I don't know if I want to ride with you if I don't know where we're going. Like, me personally, I need to drive from now on.
I was definitely like, I'm never getting in a car with you again. Like, I'm done.
Can't go anywhere. We can't even go from Orange County to LA, girl. I can't trust you.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
fair.
I barely even let my boyfriend drive. I'm driving
Exactly.
myself. Go to a party or
She's
social
like, we're
outing.
on foot from now on. I never got another car again.
My time, I get to leave when I want.
Hello? We don't even Uber. I'm screaming. Do you think there's anything that, well, I feel like it's silly to say, like, what would you change about the program? Because probably everything overall. But do you think there's anything that you would say that, like, could make it safer or more, like, helpful for students, actually? Because you said it didn't even really, it kind of had the opposite effect in some ways when you came back. Or do you think the concept is just irredeemable altogether?
I think it's irredeemable for the whole industry, the troubled teen industry, for sure, because even if they were to do something, proactive and actually great, at this point now, I feel like there's so many people that know the truth that I don't think that they could ever actually give it an opportunity. But to answer your question, I do think, sometimes, so what people are often ask me are like, well, what do you do when you have a kid that's going through serious mental health concerns, and they're doing a bunch of things, like they're doing a bunch of crap that's bad for them, and they're in gangs and stuff like that. And I'm like, right, like sometimes if the parents are helpless, there is help for you. You can find people to actually help you with that. There's
Mhm.
rehabilitation centers, youth centers for students. Like if you're
Mhm.
talking about suicide ideation, you should not be going to school and being around your friends and being
Right.
around students right now. You need
Yeah.
to be dealing with those issues on your own. And so as a family member and as a parent, then you need to be looking at your resources, your communities, and being
Mhm.
like, okay, what can I do here besides sending my kid to a
Away.
prison military like center,
Right.
which
Right.
absolutely does and nothing, no sort of rehabilitation. They brainwash you into thinking you're doing a character building program, which
Mhm.
is what I kept thinking. Like I was in a character building program / boarding school is literally
Right.
what I would try to say to my friends, but no one
Yeah.
really knew the extent of it. I would just be like, but they would be like, but there's no mirrors. No, there's no mirrors. Okay.
Right.
So like you always had to wear your hair up. You had a uniform and you couldn't look at anyone. You had to pivot. And that was the boarding school I went to. So
Pivot, like if
yeah.
someone was coming your way, you had to just
No, you had to do like a line, and every time you had a corner, you would pivot, and there's a line placement. So you would be behind your buddy. So you had a buddy that would bunk with you, and that buddy would be the person you're with like the entire day.
so a cellmate.
Pretty much, yeah, a cellmate, yeah. So you're in the room with a bunch of other girls, but you
Yeah.
have a buddy. So yeah, I think there's
Ooh.
definitely resources out there. You have to
Okay.
look for them, you know.
Right.
But it's about, I think mostly it's about building a rapport with your child.
Right.
And I'm not a parent, but I am a parent because I
Yeah.
have like I worked with kids, you know, I work with
Yeah.
students. So
Yeah.
the
True.
biggest thing is that you need to let them have a voice. So like if they don't
Mhm.
feel heard or represented, you're not going to establish a good relationship. And so
Sure.
it's about teaching intrinsic value. Like I could have a kid come in here and they
Mhm.
could be like complete Fs and not wanting to do crap
Right.
because they
Right.
don't know what it means to have an education and what that could do for them, or just simply having a plan. And so if you
Mhm.
sit with them and you're just like, so I want to listen to you. What do you want to do? Like, okay,
Right.
so in order to get from A to B, you're right. Like high school might not mean crap. Like getting a diploma
Mhm.
is the easiest thing that you can actually do in life.
Mhm.
Everything that comes after that, then you kind of start getting a little bit of respect for.
For sure.
But in that moment, from you to get from A to B, you need to do this work. And if you get people, students, kids, if you get them to actually understand and see the intrinsic value of doing
Mhm.
something,
Mhm.
then they can actually make the change. Now that part is just going to be a lot of work on your own, like getting them to,
Right.
intrinsic motivation, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I think the program itself, that kind of program is irredeemable. But I think there are other programs out there that actually do good work. There's
Yeah.
a lot of, there's a lot of programs out there, a lot of life centers for students,
Yeah.
youth, that behavioral institutions that actually do good work. And you just have to really do your research and figure out
Research.
what's
I
best.
love that. That's amazing. I think even when I was like listening to you, I'm like, God is so cool because the way that you went from being someone that needed to be heard to like figuring out how to hear kids now so they don't have to go
Yeah.
through that is just
Yeah.
literally
And
insert the applause.
thank you. And in some way, that's like you said, that's therapeutic because it is. Because, it's like when you teach someone how to do something, you kind
Yeah.
of realize how you're doing it too, So when
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
give someone advice, you give your girlfriend some advice about relationship,
Listen.
you look at your own relationship and you're
Right.
like, what the heck am I
When I
doing?
finish these episodes, I'm like, girl, go to the mirror and play this back in your ears. It's crazy.
Exactly.
Love that.
So you get it. So it's therapeutic because in a way, all you need to do in life is to help one person. You just need
Yeah.
to help one person to make a change. And that's what it means to be humanitarian.
I love
Rihanna said that.
Okay. And so it must be true, literally.
It must be true. But all you need to do is help one person to make a change, right? And
Yeah.
so in the wrong times, students are going through a lot of their own issues, but you connect with them and you make them do one small change that can really be so powerful. Like they
Right.
will remember you,
For sure.
They
It
will.
sets off a chain reaction that can change literally the entire course. I
Yeah.
love that. We're going to close down because I literally would keep you here all night if it were up to me. And I'm like, I don't want to take her whole life away with this, but we do this thing
I
on our
already got
show.
my life taken away, so
Oh, yeah. I'm like, listen, don't let me add to it. Like, please. Like such sick, dark jokes. Like, hee hee. Like, literally. Like, trauma. What can
I'm
you do?
totally okay with it. I'm totally okay with it.
Amazing. But we do this thing on our show called bids. So it's just questions, letters, etc. that people can write in and ask. And I worked some of them in because I was like, oh, I was going to ask that anyway. But someone did want to know specifically. So we kind of talked about the parent side of it just as we were speaking. But do you think there are, speaking of trauma and therapy and healing, are there any parts of your life that this time still affects? And if so, like, have you been in therapy? What would you advise someone overcoming maybe some similar traumas?
Yes, I'm definitely still, I feel like I still have a little bit of trauma for sure. When it comes down to feelings of like abandonment. So, cause my dad left my mom and me when we were little. And so I feel like it was just this crazy like pattern that kept happening to me. And then the trust. So I have a really hard time. Like me and you are having great candid conversations, and I wish I could do this all the time, and I can. But when it comes down to making friends, I have a really hard time trusting. Like I have crazy imposter syndrome.
Right.
Like I've worked on that, so I will work on my imposter syndrome with like a therapist or something. I need to go back to therapy. I try to talk to myself. I do a lot of self-talk, right? I do a lot of reading on that. Yes, imposter syndrome, the feelings of like never being good enough. And like when you first meet a connection and you have a relationship, one of the first things I think of like is how fast they'll leave me, and they'll soon realize who I really am, and they'll want to leave. And so that has a lot, I think that has a lot to do with it too, because I felt like I wasn't good enough. It's exactly what the program is. Am I ever good enough to come home? And so that was what my life was, being like a biracial Asian individual. It's like the standards are set so high, and even working at education, it's still not good enough for my mom, I think. But finally now she's realized that I am who I am, and I'm never going to change, and I'm very strong about it. And I think she's done like trying to add pressure on my life, and I'm like, please don't, because I'm already 30. I don't need it.
You're like, no, I'm going to do it with or without you. It's already worked.
And so the Asian standards are set really high. And so I think for me, that added to the imposter syndrome too. So the cultural value there for sure. The trust in the friendships, that's hard for me, like relationships. But I'm working on it.
Absolutely. Like I say this to my therapist. I'm like, girl, is everyday growth? Like when do we get like a summer break or what's going on? But I definitely listen, you better than me, because I don't know that I would be upright. So this is just honestly I just can't sing your praises enough. I'm like, this is what growth and work can do. Like what? I'm honestly shook. So
it's just so messed up. Like you'll never forget like you being sent away at your will in a place like, like arriving there. I got there before like 4th of July, but on 4th of July day, I'm sitting at the bleachers, and we all get to be outside for some random weird reason.
They're like America.
Yeah, and I refused to watch them. I kept my head down, and I was crying because I could not. I was like, I'm so lonely and miserable, and I don't want to even look up to watch the fireworks, because I'm like, I don't feel any sense of hope at all. Like I was so shocked, And so I think it takes so long for a person to recover, to actually heal and trust someone, because it's only my mom too. Like I don't have siblings, and it's just my mom. So it's like having that relationship. That's why it was worth having it. It was salvageable because I knew that I only had my mom.
Right. And that's totally like your individual decision. And I'm happy for you. It's better than just always, I feel like hate is such a heavy burden to bear.
Yeah. So I mean, don't get me wrong, I pushed her away for years. So
we're so young, you wouldn't know this. So it seems like this just happened, but here we are. Well, I think this is a perfect way to end, because we always end with the question, how are you going to bid on you moving forward? But I think what you just said is so beautiful, because here we are, full circle. Obviously 15-year-old you, head down 4th of July. I can't believe I'm so far from, all my family and friends, all of that. And we made it, And so if you could tell me, spoiler, if you could tell, that version of you then, or even the version of you that just fresh out of the program after 8 months, anything, and we'll close on this, what would you say?
I don't know. Like, I feel like I would say so many things. Like I would
get your pen and paper, girl.
Right. I would say never change who never change who you are. Your identity is going to get stronger, but you're going to grow into this really great, confident person that's going to work with other people in this aspect, in this area, but you're going to be doing a lot of growth. So just know that some years later, we're all going to sit back and laugh on it, which is what we did today.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Thank you so much. I literally am like, we just need to talk separately. So me and Jazz will like make a trip down to OC because I'm like, I need to be able to like spend hours on this. But I think this will be such a blessing to people, hopefully, who watch, and like if anyone is out there dealing with like just the bullshit of life and feeling like there's no way out. Obviously, I feel like this is such a sign that there is light at the end of every possible tunnel, no matter how dark. So thank you for joining.
I always tell my students one thing is you just need to find one good reason why. Like just one good reason why to get on with your day and like get your goal done. And that is just one reason. That's it.
Day after day. And it's maybe you have more than a few.
Right? Affirmations.
Okay. Literally the mirror, like, okay, today we're going to stay for this, literally. Well, thank you. And thank y'all for watching Bit on You. And we'll see you next time.